Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sumayya Hassan. Welcome to Aspire. In today's session, inshallah, we'll be talking about problem solving. As we continue in this series where we are talking about different aspects of building a personal brand, it's important to remind ourselves that when we talk about building a personal brand, it's not just about self-promotion. It's not about this. It's about establishing a positive reputation, about embodying values and creating a positive impact on others. And so in the quest to build a strong personal brand, we turn to the profound wisdom that we find in the Quran, in the Hadith, as we look at other areas where we think there is wisdom for us to pick in helping us improve ourselves in who we are and how we interact with the world around us. And through these timeless and sacred texts, we find lessons that inspire us in many different ways, including in problem solving. And problem solving is really a very important skill to have, because life has ups, it also has downs. There are good days and there are challenging days. And sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you need to solve a problem. And so helping us to navigate challenges while aligning with our faith, with our values, is a very important aspect of how we seek to problem solve. And this can then help us, as we apply these teachings, to solve our problems in a manner that then delivers win-win outcomes to the different parties involved. You don't want to look at a win-lose situation, that one party must win at any cost and the other party must lose. That's not what this is about. This is really about win-win. How can each of us come out of this getting, if not everything that we want, but happy with the outcome, or at least satisfied that the process is fair, that it is just, it is equitable, and that it makes sense. So there are various tips I would like to share as we seek to improve how we engage with problem solving. Number one, reflect on personal intentions. We are told in Islam, innamal a'malu binniyat, and this is so critical for anything that we do. Before attempting to resolve that conflict, it's so important that you check in with your intentions. Why are you doing this? Are you sincere in your intentions? Are you aiming to resolve the conflict for the sake of Allah, to promote peace, to bring about unity, to remove the conflict? Or are you getting involved in this really because you want to create a bigger problem, but on the face of it you want to look like you're solving a problem? What is your intention in getting involved? It's so important to check in with yourself on why you're doing this. Number two, seek knowledge and wisdom. Acquiring knowledge and understanding of the Islamic teachings and guidance related to conflict resolution is so important. What are the things that we are taught in Islam we should be bearing in mind? What are the processes and procedures? What are the considerations we should bring to bear when we seek to problem solve? We learn from the Quran, from the Sunnah, the virtues of forgiveness, the virtues of patience, the virtues of communication. And these are some of the virtues that we should bring to bear and bring to mind when we are seeking to engage in problem solving. Other cultures, other contexts may have different virtues. You know, somebody may come to you with an approach that according to them, you know, it is win at all costs. You know, if it means you destroy the other person in the process, then so be it, so long as you have won. That's not our approach. So it's so important that you understand the Islamic system, the Islamic ethos of problem solving and conflict resolution as you go into that situation. Number 3, practice self-reflection and accountability. Before engaging with the other party, if you're seeking to resolve a conflict, step back and take time for self-reflection. Evaluate. We've already talked about your intention, but in addition to your intentions, evaluate your strategies. Evaluate what is your proposed course of action in this engagement. Evaluate what would you like the outcome to be. Evaluate your words and be careful. What are some of the words you think you want to talk about or to mention when you're trying to resolve this conflict, so that it resonates with the other party, so that it delivers the message, and also so that it leads to this outcome that leaves both parties feeling satisfied. You want to be very careful in really thinking about which words do you want to choose, and equally thinking about which words you want to avoid. In conflict resolution, sometimes it's back and forth, and depending on how the conversation is going, in the heat of the moment, somebody can get angry, and then they lose it, and the words start coming out. And at that instance, something that looked like it was going very, very well can be destroyed because of a word that you use. You have to be very careful about being deliberate on the words. I remember a personal incident where I was engaged in discussion with another party that was to lead to engagement of this party for a certain initiative. And the first engagement we had went very well. When we had the follow-up engagement, this party started using a word that was very inappropriate. But just as they started it, they held themselves back. They caught the word before it came out of the mouth. I knew what the word was going to be because they had started it, but then they caught themselves and they stopped. And then, for reasons best known to themselves, after catching themselves, as we continued the discussion, they decided to use that word deliberately. The same word that earlier had been deemed to be inappropriate and therefore held back. Somebody decided to deliberately use that word. To cut a long story short, that transaction collapsed. And later on, this party then came back. Oh, you know what happened? This, that, the other. And we reminded them, this conversation that we had, the language that you used showed that we didn't have alignment of objectives in terms of what we were trying to do. So be very careful in choosing the words that you want to say and holding back against the words that you know you shouldn't say. And sometimes, because we are humans, we make mistakes. The word comes out. You can apologize. You can say, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant to say, or that didn't come out the way in which I meant it to come out, and here is what I meant. You can correct it. But if you leave it like that, or you emphasize that same word, you can spoil what was going to be a very good solution to the conflict that you were trying to resolve. Number 4, Initiate peaceful dialogue. If you approach the conflict with a sincere desire for resolution, then you want to approach it with respect and with empathy. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. What are they concerned about? And how do you want to engage them in a manner that helps them appreciate that you really understand their concern, and that even when you disagree, if you disagree, that you do so respectfully, rather than doing it disrespectfully just because your view could be different. Choose an appropriate time, choose an appropriate place for the discussion. Don't engage in a time and place that you know is inappropriate just because you want to have the upper hand, and yet you want to resolve this in a manner that is beneficial to all. Number 5, listen actively and be empathetic. When you are actively listening to the concerns, the grievances, and the perspectives of the other party, this really shows your desire to give this a fair chance. And when you practice empathy, it means that you're listening. You want to listen not only to their words, but you want to understand their feelings. You want to understand not only what is being said, but also what is not being said. You want to understand their experience that perhaps could be influencing their actions or their words. And it is very important to also let somebody finish talking, even if you think you know what they are going to say. And sometimes it's your desire for a solution. You're so impatient to get this thing resolved that you think the other person is taking too long to talk. Maybe they speak slowly. You want to speak for them. You want to finish their sentences for them. In fact, you want to add words to let them finish. Then you can come back and look at where else do you think you can help to assist, to help to clarify. But you really need to give people an opportunity to speak. And bearing in mind, in a conflict situation, people respond differently. There are some people who can speak normally. Some people need to go very quiet to help them manage whatever the conflict is. And so even their tone may be very low, maybe the words are spaced out very slowly. You must understand that people are different. So give somebody a chance to speak so that then you can understand this in their own words before you come in with what you think is your input into trying to resolve this. Number 6, communicate effectively and respectfully. Even when you're expressing your thoughts, when you're expressing your feelings, be respectful, be clear, so that not only are you being respectful of the other person, but that you're also communicating what it is that you mean to communicate. In a previous session of Aspire, we spoke about persuasive storytelling. This is where storytelling can come in as well. You may want to communicate your point through the power of a story. Something that happened somewhere. It could be a real story from the hadith, from one of the stories in the Quran of the Sahaba. Whatever the case may be, the power of using persuasive storytelling may enable you to deal with a very sensitive matter, a very sensitive issue, by using hikmah. And this is where storytelling can come in, by helping you to talk about a very sensitive matter, but through the power of a powerful story. Remember again, when we talk about communicating respectfully, the advice of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing upon him, when he reminds us, whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent. choose your words. The power of a good word, we are told, is like planting a good seed, one that can grow big and tall and strong and be of benefit to others. On the other hand, the power of a bad word is like getting a body of water and putting something inside that spoils or poisons that water. And so it's very, very important that we seek to choose our words and be respectful. Number 7, seek reconciliation and seek forgiveness. As you set out looking at your objectives of this exercise, why am I trying to resolve this conflict? Be clear. And one of the honorable objectives you could be seeking for is reconciliation and forgiveness. This could be, say, your ultimate goal for this conflict resolution. Remember that forgiveness is extremely powerful for healing, for restoring relationships, for repairing what was broken. The power of I am sorry. It is 3 words, sometimes extremely difficult for people to say, but unbelievably powerful when they are said. Just acknowledging that there is something that has happened here that has hurt somebody else, and I am sorry. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are accepting guilt. No. In some cases, yes, if you are the perpetrator and you've done something. But sometimes what I am sorry for is how you felt about my actions. Maybe it is I am sorry about the outcome of something, the way it happened. Not necessarily that I did anything, to influence that, but I'm sorry that this is how it turned out. I'm sorry that this is what it meant to you, or this is how it impacted you. So coming up with those 3 words, or whatever it is in the language that you choose, is so powerful. Allah encourages us to forgive in Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, verse 22, when He tells us, let them pardon and overlook. Would you not love for Allah to forgive you? Of course, we would. So why do we not want to forgive each other? Why do we not want to pardon each other? The power of forgiveness, extremely critical. Number 8, involve neutral mediation if needed. If the conflict persists or becomes very complex, you may want to consider a neutral third party. Maybe a neutral mediator, a neutral arbitrator, somebody who is very knowledgeable, either in the deen or knowledgeable in the field. It depends on what the matter is. It could be a technical issue that needs a technical expert. Somebody who can be impartial, who can help to facilitate communication and to guide the conflict resolution process. It's not a sign of weakness to bring in a neutral third party to mediate. If you have tried and it has not worked between the two of you, then it is time to involve the others. And again, we see this is part of the guidance we have in Islam. If it is marital conflict, perhaps the 2 of you have tried to resolve it and you can't, what are we encouraged to do? There's an opportunity there to bring in families, people that we trust, people who are knowledgeable, people who are wise, to help us to resolve this particular issue we could be dealing with. Finally, number 9, maintain humility and seek Allah's guidance. So throughout the process of conflict resolution, maintain humility. You don't want to go into this conflict resolution being arrogant, feeling that, I have the upper hand. I will do what it is that I want, because after all, I have this, I have more this, I have... Actually, if you're really trying to resolve that conflict and you know you have the upper hand, perhaps it is at that point that you want to lower your wing to the other side, because you know you have the upper hand. And you want to make it easier for them to have this engagement with you without them feeling so intimidated by your upper hand that they cannot even engage in this conflict resolution process properly with you. So be humble and seek guidance from Allah, remembering that ultimately success lies in His hands. And we have this beautiful, beautiful gift given to us in Islam, when Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that if any of you is concerned about a decision he has to make, then let him pray 2 rakahs of voluntary prayer and say the supplication of istikhara. The power of this beautiful gift, that you can go to Allah with any issue. You pray your 2 rakahs, Allah, I need your guidance on this issue. I'm trying to resolve this conflict. I have this challenge. I have this situation. You do your istikhara. It is a beautiful gift given to us to help us know how to make decisions, and it is a wonderful thing for you to use when you're trying to resolve conflict. So, problem solving, when we infuse it with the wisdom that we get from the Quran, from the Hadith, can become a very transformative tool in building our personal brand. By aligning our intentions with sincerity, by seeking to pursue excellence, by practicing humility and modesty, by embracing authenticity and integrity, by committing to continuous learning and improving our knowledge, by exhibiting patience, by nurturing relationships, we can not only navigate challenges even in a very complex conflict, but also contribute to leaving a lasting and positive impact on those who we are seeking to help resolve the conflict. So, inshallah, as we end today's session of Aspire, I pray that each of us seeks to embrace problem solving as an opportunity to bring about forgiveness, to bring about reconciliation between people perhaps who have gotten into a situation. And if we do this by bringing on board the teachings of Islam as we've learned through the Quran and through the Sunnah, then inshallah, not only are we resolving the conflict, but we are actually living the values and the guidance given to us in the deen and by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and therefore the blessings that come from that become an immeasurable and an incredible benefit, not only to us, but also to those others that we are seeking to help, inshallah, through the conflict resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.